Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for another real short talk with Ryan. Today, we are going to be looking at Psalm 31. I've got a very important question for you, as always, right? I love a good, important question. And the question is this: how big do you want God to be? Maybe you've never thought about that. What do I mean by that? How big do you want God to be? Do we want God to be really small where we can fit him in a box and we can always understand him, we can manipulate him, he always does exactly what we expect him to do, exactly what we would do in that situation? Or do we want a God that is big, that is infinite, that we don't always understand, that sometimes leads us places, that sometimes does things in our lives that we just can't comprehend? Because David in Psalm 31, he says in verse 5, he says, "Into your hand I commit my spirit. You have redeemed me, O Lord, faithful God. Into your hands I commit my spirit." What he's saying right here is, Lord God, I trust you. I trust you with my life. I'm giving you the control. Jesus quotes this when he is on the cross, when he says, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." He says, "Father, I trust you. Lord, maybe this isn't what I would have chosen. Maybe this isn't how I would do things. Maybe I don't understand exactly what is going on. But Father, I trust you." Are we willing to say that? Are we willing to say, hey, I don't understand everything, but I trust you? Looking back in verse 1, he says, "In you, O Lord, do I take refuge. Let me never be put to shame. In your righteousness, deliver me." Right? We look to the Lord for refuge. Right? If God's small, if we can control God, then we can't take refuge in that. If we're bigger than God, how could we ever take refuge in him? For us to be able to take refuge in God, to go to him for protection and safety, he has to be bigger than us. He says, "Incline your ear to me, rescue me speedily, be a rock of refuge for me, a strong fortress to save me." Again, a small God can't do those things for us. If we always understand God, then how can he be a rock of refuge for us? We have to have a God that we don't always understand. We have to have a God that is bigger than us so that we can take refuge in him. I love verse 3. He says, "For you are my rock and my fortress, and for your name's sake, you lead me and guide me." A part of committing our spirit into the hands of God is acknowledging that where he is moving our lives, his purposes for us are for his name's sake, not our name's sake. It says, hey, Lord, this doesn't make me look great, but that's okay because it makes you look great. And guess what? When God is bigger than us, that's okay. But if God is smaller than us, if we put him in the box, then we don't want to live for his name's sake. We want to live for our name's sake. We want to use God to serve our needs and to serve our agenda. But the Bible is calling out and saying, hey, God is not about your agenda. He is about his. He is about his plans and his purposes in your life, his name's sake. If we're going to do what David says here, if we're going to commit our spirit into the hands of God, then we've got to say, God, you are bigger than me, and I rejoice that you are bigger than me. Lord, I don't want to understand everything. I don't want to control you. I don't want to manipulate you. I want you to guide my life, to use me for your purposes and for the glory of your name. Are you willing to make that commitment? Are you willing to say, Lord, use me for your purposes? Lord, I don't understand everything about you. Lord, you are bigger than me, and in that I rejoice, and in that I take refuge. Spend some time reading the rest of Psalm 31 today as David just talks about how he trusts in the Lord. You'll be blessed by it, I promise. That's all we've got for today. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And until then, go and glorify his name.